Now, one of the last of a handful of Jews surviving in Yemen has died. Yahya Ben Youssef was thought to be over 100 years old. He lived north of the city of Sana'a and was buried by his Muslim neighbours. Once a thriving community dating back thousands of years, the Jewish community in Yemen has all but disappeared. Another Jewish man in Yemen, Levi Marhabi, was captured by the Houthis and tortured. Well, joining me now, Yirmiyahu Danzig is an Israeli activist and digital educator. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. And Yahya Ben Youssef refused to follow the tens of thousands of other Yemenite Jews who came to Israel in the 1940s. It must have been something of a lonely existence for him.
Certainly that was the case. And, I think that many of us take for granted that period in history in which the entire communities throughout the Middle East, North Africa, Jewish communities were basically completely wiped off of the map. And it was not just because these Jewish communities, like Jewish communities all over the world, were longing and waiting for the opportunity to go to Zion. It's mostly because they were ethnically cleansed, expelled, pressured to leave their homes and to lose all of their possessions. And so, many of us, people living in diaspora Jewish communities throughout the world, think about how complicated it is to leave your home, your house, the people that you know, the customs that you're used to. And so Mori, or Rabbi Yahya, was one such Jew that refused to leave his home, though there are some rumors that he was trying to moved to Israel, but because of bureaucratic issues, he was unable to, and he passed away in what we believe was close to or even past the age of 100.
And given all of that, it was interesting and touching, perhaps, to see that his Muslim neighbours gave him a proper burial, especially given how hard life has been for Jews in Yemen, and especially since the Houthi takeover. That was something quite touching to see, wasn't it?
Certainly, and notwithstanding systemic anti-Semitism that Jews in the past and present receive from some of these regimes, particularly in governments or organizations that are proxies of the Iranian regime in Iran, Lebanon, and in Yemen. Local relations between neighbors, between people that have been living alongside each other for generations, have always been full of their beautiful moments alongside more complicated situations. And so many people within the Yemenite Jewish community in Israel, including family members of his, were very happy to see the men of his village, non-Jews, carrying his body wrapped in a talit, in a prayer shawl, and giving him a respectful burial.
And it is very sad, isn't it? This is the end of a very long history. The Jewish community in Yemen dates back thousands of years. Luckily, the Yemenites have managed to preserve their culture and traditions here in Israel.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the numbers estimate between 400 to 450,000 Yemenite Jews in Israel, and that cultural contribution, whether it's in music and food, can be felt everywhere in Israeli society. It could be that there are still some individual Jews in Yemen. It's hard to know because many of them, for good reason, are very afraid of what the Houthi regime might do to them. Because as you brought up in the beginning, we can't forget Levi Marhabi, a Jew who is still being held by the Houthis in horrible circumstances after dealing with terrible torture. And so it could be that there's still some individual Jews that are holding on and keeping that spark alive of thousands of years of Jewish history.